even in the midst of all this sin and suffering that has been caused by Satan. Now, I want to read a statement here from this book, The Adventist Home. And it's a very startling statement. It says this: "It was Satan's studied effort in the antediluvian age, before the flood, to pervert the marriage institution, to weaken its obligations and lessen its sacredness." Why do you think the devil studied and concentrated his efforts to weaken the marriage institution? Why was it his studied effort? The quote answers here: "For in no surer way," in other words, there wasn't a more effective way to do this, "in no surer way could he deface the image of God in man and open the door to misery and vice." So as we look back at our own families and throughout history, at all the suffering and all the misery and vice that has come along, and all the defacement of God's image in humanity, it has all come about through one institution, the family and the marriage institution. And so this is why God wants to restore this institution, and he calls his people to restore broken relationships in families. And so today I want to look at this subject. We'll be looking at the prophecies that predicted this work in the Old Testament, in Isaiah and Malachi. We'll be looking at how John the Baptist and Elijah restored the family institution and called people back to God and to relationship with himself. And we'll look at how God's people fit into that prophetic work of healing families and restoring relationships today. There is a highway in the ancient Near East called the King's Highway. Have you heard of it? The King's Highway. And it's thousands of kilometers long, and it spans several countries today. Today you can find part of it in Jordan, and this is where that picture has been taken from. That's a tour guide along the King's Highway today. But as you can read there, before the bitumen was laid, this road would have been rough and required lots of hard work to make straight and level. Ancient road preparation for a royal highway was generally brutal manual labor, using nothing but hand tools, no machinery of any kind. Can you just imagine being a worker tasked with smoothing out and leveling out that road for the king back in those ancient times? It was called the King's Highway for the fact that it was used by the kings of those ancient nations to travel from city to city. And so it was a very well-known road. But imagine just being a worker and your task was to smooth that road out. It would have been extremely difficult to do, especially if you had no machinery, you just had hand tools to do it with. So this was the task of those workers, but they did it. A monumental task. It's extremely difficult to do. But Ellen White comments that the work of John the Baptist and God's people in restoring the King's Highway, spiritually speaking, is much harder. But it's not impossible, because God can help us, right? He can empower us to do it. But all the way back to the time of the Exodus, Moses, remember, requested to use this, or to pass through this way, Numbers 20 verse 17. And his passage was rejected. But he says there, we will go by the King's Highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor to the left until we have passed borders. But his request was refused by that pagan king. And I want to look at a couple of prophecies that borrowed that imagery of the King's Highway. One is found in Isaiah and another one is found in Malachi. This one here from Isaiah says this: "The voice of him that cries in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. And the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain." What could Isaiah's symbolism mean here? Of the crooked being made straight, the rough places plain, the mountains and hills being leveled out, and the valleys exalted. And the one in Malachi says this: "Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts." So, in the prophecy of preparing the King's highway, spiritually speaking, the King's highway into our hearts, what does the symbolism mean? Well, there's a beautiful statement found in the book This